Unfiltered. Like you're in another world, like you zoned out.
Hello and welcome to Unfiltered. I'm your host, Georgii Speakman, and today we're diving into a topic that's both deeply personal and universally relatable: self-sabotage. The goal here is to resist your own resistance. This episode is about recognizing and mitigating the ways we sometimes hold ourselves back, often without even realizing it. If you've ever felt stuck, unmotivated, or like you're standing in your own way, this one is for sure for you. So let's touch on self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is when your behaviors or thought patterns interfere with your short and long-term goals. Sometimes it's glaringly obvious, procrastinating on an important project or avoiding opportunities out of fear. But often it's subtle, deep-rooted, and masks as habits, excuses, or a myriad of justifications. And here's the kicker: you might not even realize you're doing it. Age-old self-sabotage can feel so natural that it's hard to catch yourself half the time in the act. And so that's why today I wanted to touch on the complex, layered patterns of resistance that prevent us from living our true desires and pursuing our dreams. I've sure as hell been guilty of self-sabotage, and I know a hell of a lot of other people close to me have too. And I'd like to preface by saying that I'm sharing this episode for the purposes of motivation, inspiration, and just having the opportunity to speak from the heart, from personal experiences, and not as any form of professional advice. So I want to ask yourself honestly. I want to encourage you to ask yourself honestly: am I leaning too heavily into fear? Like half the time we don't even know that we are. Fear can masquerade as practicality or just about anything. Fear can be an iteration of the blind leading the blind, and that can take many, many different forms. Fear can be an array of justifiable excuses. Oh, I'm broke. Oh, I'm so busy. I'm in a shitty relationship that's not allowing me to create. I'm too broken from my past. I don't have the energy. I never have the time, and so on, leading us to avoid taking the very risks that could help us grow. Ask yourself, what's stopping me? The $1,000,000 question. Is it a fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, fear of having to maintain the dream, i.e. fear of commitment, or a deep-seated belief that you're simply not worthy or deserving? No matter what the deep-seated reason is or reasons are, you have to be able to acknowledge them in order to find the path to resolution so you can ultimately be excuse-free. And I understand it's often easier said than done. Resistance. Ooh, gotta love resistance. It often shows up as literal overthinking, perfectionism, procrastination, avoidance, convincing yourself that you're too busy, as mentioned, yet not proactively carving out the time. It can mask itself or show itself up in general negative self-talk and more. These patterns can become so ingrained that they feel like facts and not choices. We can move from a place of powerlessness, as though something or someone is literally pulling all the strings in our lives. Or we can move from a place of intelligent rationale where it seems like we're making the right choices and decisions. But all of these choices can be unlearned, and patterns can be redirected, and behaviors can take on new and exciting meaning if we consciously acknowledge it and allow it. But it really does come down to choice at the end of the day, because as we know, there is a solution for everything. So let's explore some strategies for resisting resistance and overcoming self-sabotage. I'm sharing these with you because throughout the course of my life, I've personally experienced it, and I've become tired of my own self-limiting excuses that I've identified at different times in my life, and I know firsthand the tremendous amount of focus, commitment, and sacrifice it can take to break certain cycles or habits. So number one, you've got to acknowledge the resistance if you can, and then go deeper with it. So the first step to breaking free is recognizing when and how resistance shows up in your life and paying attention to how it feels. So it often doesn't actually feel the best. And by acknowledging this, it should help you to at least want to start taking different steps to break those patterns or cycles. Record it and take note of it in whatever form or format works best for you. So keep a journal, take notes on your phone, email yourself, reflect, or talk it out with someone you trust. Awareness is always half the battle, so it's always helpful to have some type of accountability coach in your life. We just interviewed Bella Castro, the founder of Vita Bella, your personal accountability coach, last week. Having somebody like that or a friend in your life that can act as a personal accountability coach that is authentic, honest, and real, genuine, and is able to be vulnerable with you is always helpful. And when you find that pain point, go deeper again. So, for example, what's the underlying feeling or thought behind the underlying feeling or thought? Repeat that self-reflective question again and again with the goal of getting to the root and source of the self-limiting actions, thoughts, or behaviors. Number 2, lean into discomfort. So resistance often thrives in the face of discomfort. So instead of avoiding it, lean in. We know that growth happens outside your comfort zone. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Most fears lose their power when you confront them head on. I know I've historically put myself in such states of anxiety and fear that I've wound up doing a full circle and simplifying the internal message to myself saying, well, I'm going to die anyway. Life is a journey, a kind of self and social experiment. So why not just go for it? You have to find the language and whatever it is that helps you get out, spring out and away of your fear. We also learn by doing, so we will never know until we try. Number 3, take small intentional steps. So self-sabotage, as we know it, thrives on overwhelm. So instead of tackling everything at once, break your goals into smaller, manageable actions. Decompartmentalize the actions you need to take and be gentle, kind, and patient to yourself as you do this. Celebrate progress no matter how small. It's important to love yourself through the process. Number 4, reframe your thoughts. Negative self-talk, which we all suffer from, I don't care who you are, we all suffer from it. These can reinforce self-sabotage. But do your best on an ongoing basis to replace thoughts like I'm not good enough, it's not going to work out, I fail at everything, or whatever negative thoughts are capable of taking hold of you, and replace these with positive affirmations, even when it feels really difficult or sometimes nearly impossible. I know it can be hard at the time or in heavier moments of negativity, but it does take practice and ideally consistent practice. So if you can climb your way out of this negative thinking, reframing your thoughts can be transformative, and literally state stuff like out loud. So the way to literally stop the negative thoughts immediately is by saying affirmative statements out loud, such as I am worthy, I am deserving, I fulfill my greatest potential, and so on. Find the language once again that resonates with you personally. And this will help you shift out of that place of negativity. Number 5, prioritize your beautiful dreams. If you're constantly putting others' needs ahead of your own, or social time or partying or whatever ahead of your needs, it is time to set those boundaries. Your dreams matter. You got to honor them. Give yourself permission to prioritize them. So sacrifice a boozy Sunday lunch with a friend to a writing session with a friend that it can be productive. Instead of doing a night out drinking and spending all that money on a beautiful bougie dinner out or whatever it is, find a friend to chill with you of an evening to work on a creative project, whether you're doing it together or even separately but in the same environment, so you don't feel so isolated and alone. You can carve out your first working hour of the day, for example, from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. or 8 till 9, or an hour after work. Is that 7 to 8 or 8 to 9 or whatever works for you, and 5 days a week to form a consistent habit around contributing towards your dream, whatever that might be. Number 6, now this is the fun part, visualizing your success. I know this has worked for me in many instances. The power of this is it does work. I've used it personally. It works. So take the time to imagine what success looks and feels like for you. So again, instead of focusing on all of the scary and fear-based outcomes, which we typically tend to do by nature, because we're programmed and wired that way due to various circumstances, focus on the outcome of your dreams and spot yourself focusing on the negatives and just choose to stop it and switch that thinking into visualizing your success. See it, feel it, trust it. Visualization can help you align your actions with your goals and combat fear of the unknown. So switch from ruminating on lack and force yourself into positive visualization daily. Create mood boards, write things down, journal, and keep choosing the elevated thoughts or thinking over negative ones. But just make sure it works for and resonates with you personally. Number 7, of course, seek support. I was with a friend over the weekend that said to me, you still need support. Yeah, you're a strong, independent woman, but we all need support. So whether it's a coach, mentor, or supportive friend, having someone in your corner can make a world of difference. And for a lot of us, it can't be family. So we have to find who can be a supportive, rock, solace, whatever for us. They can offer perspective, accountability, and encouragement. Sometimes it's good to talk your fears out loud to a trusted source vulnerably, as mentioned earlier, but ending the conversation on a high by leaning back into the anticipation of fulfilling your dreams, affirming what you do want and not just what you're afraid of. So speak it out loud, claim it, and let the universe do the rest of its guiding for you. It's important to approach this self-regulation with kindness towards yourself. I mentioned earlier self-love. Look, self-sabotage often largely stems from a place of fear or pain. So not necessarily laziness or lack of ambition. So please be gentle with yourself as you do spend the time uncovering these patterns and work on shifting them. And it will take time. Take your time with it. Don't expect that it's going to happen overnight either. Progress is not linear, and setbacks are a natural part of the journey. Just catch it and get back on track. So what's stopping you from taking that next step? What dream have you been putting off? And what small action can you take today to move closer to it? Write a self-affirming letter to yourself. Leverage Pinterest to formulate a vision board. Do whatever you have to do in order to get started. Remember, resistance is normal, but it doesn't have to control your life anymore. And that's if you're motivated to make that change. So catch yourself in those moments of avoidance, overthinking, or fear, and remind yourself you are capable, you are worthy, and you are allowed to dream big. The skies are your only limit. The only thing standing between you and your goals is that choice to take the first step. Thank you so much for tuning into Unfiltered today. I hope this episode inspires you to recognize and resist the resistance in your life. Until next time, stay courageous, stay intentional, and as always, stay unfiltered, particularly with all the beautiful positive thoughts in your life. Unfiltered.
Like you're in another world, like you zoned out.